Hey everybody, Ben here from the Bonehead podcast, and today we've got a Kickstarter preview for you of the Gaia Games High Elf team that went live yesterday. They're over £7,000 of a target of 800 now, so they're smashing their target, and we've actually got our hands on some of the miniatures. They graciously sent us some so that we could have a look at them ourselves. Now, Gaia Games used to be called WA Games, and they're the ones who did the Pandemic Army Kickstarter earlier this year. Great sculpts and really good casting quality. Now you can see right here the sculpting quality has got even better, and now we're going to have a look at the physical copies. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at one of the linemen, and then just in the background there you can see we've got one of the blitzers too, which I think are some of the coolest sculpts in the entire team. So I guess there's two call outs here to make about the Gaia Games new release. First of all, and you can tell from the design elements here, they are a more true scale approach than Games Workshop. Now this is their choice, and this is what they've gone with. They've said they've gone away from the Games Workshop cartoony elements and more in line with true scale. So these miniatures and the proportions are going to be more in line with some of the stuff you'll see from like the Marvel miniatures that are out at the moment, or Lord of the Rings, things like that, where they've gone with more reasonable proportions, he says, looking at a giant high elf hat. And that's the second design element here, is look at this on the screen right now. You can see that they went full on high elf here. They've gone into all the high elf tropes and they have executed it brilliantly. So if you're okay with the proportions, then you're going to love this team. Now look at some of the sculpting detail here. We can see you've got the scale mail there, you've got beautiful folds on the clothing. You can see we've even got armor elements on the greaves there as well. Now these are the actual production cast models. Now the WA Games Kickstarter for Pandemic Army, the casting was some of the best resin quality I've seen. Now I've built a couple of these models and I've had a look through all the rest of them, and the casting quality is again really well done. Now I'm super impressed. But you can see you've got the lion face on the shoulder pad as you rotate the model and then drop it elegantly. You can see you've got all the different levels of detail. You've got that classic high elf vibe, whether it's from the fabric, whether it's from the gems, whether it's from the like individual lines and protection. You've even got the kind of moon. What was that from High Elves? You still got the moon things. You've got that classic High Elf element there on the cone head. If you are a fan of High Elves and you're on board with the true scale, then you are going to love the aesthetic and the execution of this team. Now let's have a look at the Blitzer. So this is one of my favourite sculpts from the entire thing. There's so much dynamism there, but really for me it is the fact that I am an old school High Elf fan. And we can see even better on this sculpt. You've got that classic scale mail. You've got the wings. So Warhammer Fantasy Battle, you're talking silver helms, which were the knights. So this is one of the blitzers. You've got excellent work on the pauldrons of the armour. You can see that the vambrace has got extra levels of detail. And you can even see down here, you've got the kind of extra armour work on the greaves. Now, WA Games, their casting quality for the last Kickstarter was superb. And you can see it again with this. If this is with production quality, you are absolutely sold. Now, they are resin, so they do need a bit of a clean before you do much with them, because they do have that kind of little bit of a greasy effect to them, but that is the same for all resin minis. But look at the detail, and the sculpting quality of this is just some of the best I've seen outside of like Grebo and things like that. They have built this and pulled it off brilliantly. So, I mean, this is one of my favourite sculpts from the thing. Yes, it is skinny, and I think that's probably a good time to break away and have a look at the size compared to other Games Workshop models. So what we've got here now is one of the Wood Elf throwers from the Wood Elf team from Games Workshop, and our Blitzer here from the High Elf team. So let's line the bases up. Gaia Games are sending them out with bases that are very similar in size to the Games Workshop ones. They are a little bit thinner and marginally larger by like 1/10 of a millimeter. But height-wise, they are around about the same as well. So if we compare size-wise, you've got more height from the Gaia Games High Elf ones. You can see very clearly there, more height, but definitely less bulk. Now, when they're on the pitch, when they're painted and when they're based, I don't think you're going to have too much difficulty. Now, they are obviously a different style and in some cases a different scale. Height-wise, you're going to have no problems at all, as you can see on the camera now. Actually, height-wise, they're going to be perfect. When it comes to mass-wise, they do look smaller, but that's the Gaia Games design angle here, is that they wanted to move away from the bulk of the Games Workshop stuff with the essentially very large heads compared to true scale. And when it comes to these High Elves, you've got that design choice executed all the way through. So size-wise, they're actually quite similar. especially height-wise. Now, what we do have is we've got a nobility thrower. We've got Fitzmagic from our YouTube series as well. And this is potentially one of the things where the size difference kind of flashes up more than ever. The humans, the nobility team, are pretty bulky from Games Workshop. Now, these guys, the High Elves, are not bulky, but they are designed to be elves. They're designed to be thin and nimble and elfy, and with that true scale element to them. They've got the tallness, they don't have the bulk, but they're High Elves, so they're not really supposed to. So we've had a look at the models, now let's have a look at the Kickstarter itself. So like I said at the beginning, Rebirth and Vengeance High Elf Fantasy Football Team. So it's been live now for less than a day, and it's already smashed the goal. It's over 7,000 now against 855. There's 14 days to go, so you've got until September the 30th to back this. So if you are interested in a High Elf team and you're happy and you enjoy this true scale effect, then go and back it. Let's have a look at actually what you get for it. Now, Waia Forge use a product they've called More Grey Resin. Now, this is the same stuff they used for their last Kickstarter, and without being too over the top, it is basically the best resin I think I've seen used in a very long time. Windsor Chog is the best cast resin I think I've ever seen in Blood Bowl, and this stuff is exactly up there with it, which is a phenomenal quality level. This destroys the Games Workshop stuff by a long shot. Really impressed. The actual product itself and the way the resin is cast is really well done. Like, I don't know how they could make it better quality resin or better quality casting. Now, you've seen from the video that these sculpts are actually pretty thin, but they are tough. Like, there's a little bit of flex in there. They are going to survive combat, which is going to be very useful because High Elves tend to get powered down a bit, don't they? So More Grey Resin, do recommend it. The quality there is there. So what they're doing is they're doing an NFT gift for backers as well. Now, if you're a Blood Bowl fan and you're not that fussed about cryptocurrency, just ignore it. It doesn't matter. Like, it's fine. You can just skip that entire thing. I'm not up to date with my cryptocurrency, so I'm just going to ignore that and focus on the Blood Bowl. So as we scroll down, you can see we've got the beautiful, beautiful sculpts there from the Blitzers. I mean, we've already had a look at one of them, and I've not hidden the fact that they're my favourite sculpts. They've got that classic High Elf look. They look like Silver Helm Cavalry, and I mean, High Elf Blitzers are pretty great players. Now, as we scroll down, you can see you've got 4 independent catchers as well. We do have those. They're size-wise the same, but this sculpting comes out brilliantly in the casting. You've got 2 throwers there. I love the fact they've gone with a prince and a princess kind of look. You know, you've got all the extra regalry there. You've got the little crowns. It works really well for throwers. And linemen, you've got, what, 8 different positionals? I do like the this one here who's putting off the Avengers pose. It's just cool. I love the fact that they've got all those individual sculpts and they've executed them brilliantly. Anybody with knowledge of the world that was would know that these guys were High Elves. You've got a kicker in there as well. You've got some dynamic poses, and you do need all those linemen because High Elves are an expensive team. You're likely to start with the thrower, 2 blitzers, and 8 linemen. Your team is ready to go here, which is perfect. So that's the build of the whole team. So value-wise, £56 will get you 8 linemen, 4 catchers, 2 throwers, 2 blitzers, and thrower 3. So what does that work out to? 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 players there. Okay, shipping's going to be like another tenner. That's absolutely fine. So you're looking at about £60, £65 for a team of 17 plus. Okay, we've got stretch goals to add to this. So 17 plus players will give you basically all the different builds, all your positionals for the team, and you're kind of good to go at that point. Now, we've got Thrower 3 here, which is one of my favourite sculpts. We didn't receive this one. Obviously, it's a stretch goal, but this is a very cool pose. Huge fan of that. They here have got the realistic size comparison. I feel like we've had a pretty good look at a couple of different Blood Bowl miniatures, so you can tell they are slighter. Height-wise, they are taller. They've gone for that true scale element, and if it's something that you don't mind or that you quite like, it is going to work. When this team is painted and based, it is going to look really cool, and that's so good, and it's going to look different. Like, this is not just another, like, a third halfling team that just looks like garbage. This is something unique, well sculpted, and brilliantly executed on the end. Size-wise, it's very different to the standard Blood Bowl stuff, but it's going to look like a complete cohesive team, and it's going to, if you're a High Elf fan, it's pulling off what you want, I think. Now, stretch goals wise, they've got a ton on there. We're going to scroll down and have a look. You've got turn markers. You've got Prince Meridian, which is awesome. Now, I love Prince Meridian. I hope he comes back into the game proper. But for now, you've got a really cool alternative blitzer. You've got reroll markers, you've got Valen's Shift, who's unlocked now, so Valen Swift. You've got Luciano's Shift, you know, the other Swift twins. So you've got the Swift twins there, they are now unlocked. Willow, which is cool. You've got cheerleaders, which you've got the full elf thing out. The king comes with a full throne, which, I don't know. I mean, it's Kickstarter. This is all stuff that just goes on. The wizard model, however, is super cool. You've got the phoenix there on his back. If you're any kind of miniature painter that loves a challenge, that is really quite sweet. The referee riding around on a little hippogriff is pretty cool too. So £56 for a team with a bunch of star players, all the positionals you could need, and just some of the most detailed sculpting and best resin casting I've seen for quite a while now. Now, that size element may bother you, okay? Absolutely. But hundreds of people are okay with it. And I do solidly believe that as long as you're okay with the style, this team is going to look fantastic on the pitch. They look a bit smaller, but when they're all lined up together, it's really not that noticeable. And when they're lined up against you, it doesn't matter. They are slighter. It is true scale, but it has been brilliantly executed. So there you have it, the High Elf Kickstarter from Waia Miniatures game. Resin casting, superb. Digital sculpting, superb. Design choice will be down to your preference, but it is beautifully executed, and the team when together looks really impressive. So I think you got a good Kickstarter here. If you're looking for a High Elf team and you like the design style, I wouldn't hesitate. The quality and execution is almost unmatched when it comes to Blood Bowl Kickstarters. They've done a really good job, and I want to see them succeed. That said, they are already, 800% of their target, so they don't need this video to sell it. The sculpts and what you've seen on their Kickstarter page is already doing it. Hopefully this will help answer a few of your questions, and if you haven't come across this Kickstarter and it does excite you, well, here's a High Elf team. Go and enjoy. Anyway, guys, thank you ever so much for watching. Head on over and check them out. I've put their links to their company below as well, so give them a follow because they do some great stuff for Blood Bowl, and as you all know, more Blood Bowl is more better, especially when High Elves are involved. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you soon. Happy blocking. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to help support the channel even further, please like and subscribe, or come join us on our Patreon. We have early access to content. We get loads of feedback from you guys, and we try and do competitions as much as we can. Or you can get yourself some Bonehead podcast merch on our Spreadshirt site. So if you want to support a team, especially for the Bonehead Championship, you can pick up a shirt, a mug, things like that. It all helps support the channel, and we really appreciate it. Anyway, links below. Thank you very much. Happy blocking.